now here on Trevor 2 highlights of the Canadian Grand Prix, introduced by Trevor Walker. Very warm welcome, and here we are back with more Grand Prix action. It's round 4 of the Formula 1 World Championships here in Montreal, and we're at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Canada for Canadian Grand Prix. It's an overcast, rather cold sort of day, but it's always a famous Grand Prix. Always produces very fast straights, some absolutely delightful racing potentially ahead of us with the hairpins and the chicanes. Not to forgetting as well, surviving the Wall of Champions. This is how we look after the damage that's been done to the Formula 1 calendar due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The French Grand Prix sadly has been cancelled, but the British Grand Prix will be happening very shortly. But for now, we are all set for the Canadian Grand Prix. This is how the World Championship stands after 3 rounds, with Lewis Hamilton comfortably in the lead of Alex Albon, who benefits that position after his win in the opening round in Australia. Mercedes has a 10-point lead in the Constructors' points, but Sebastian Vettel here today with his best qualifying performance to get on to the pole position is hoping to change all that. So here is the lineup for this afternoon's race. And here we look at the starting grids at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, and Hamilton has been pipped by Vettel. Albon gets third ahead of Max Verstappen, who comes in at 4th. Leclerc, he comes in at 5th, and Bottas is 6th. Lando Norris, brilliant performance to get 7th. Magnussen and Ocon line the midfield, and Ricciardo is 1 ahead of Carlos Sainz, who will be racing for next season. Gasly with a good performance to get into 15th. Russell comes 18th, and Kimi Raikkonen, the former world champion, is 20th. Waiting, 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Go, 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 go! The Canadian Grand Prix. Good start that was by Sebastian Vettel, but Lewis Hamilton's been a great start. 1-0 start by Albon. Leclerc's got away into 4th place. Bottas has got ahead of Verstappen, who's made a dreadful start, has gone down into 6th place as well. And now Vettel gets away, and Hamilton is being challenged by Alex Albon as we move into the first section, as they make their way round the Virage de Senna and round to the part of the Concorde. And look at this, and Vettel's already pulling out a bit of a lead here on Lewis Hamilton. It's an excellent start. Hamilton 2nd, Alex Albon is 3rd. Now this is further back, this is Bottas and Verstappen. This is the battle for 6th place. There's Perez there, they're sitting behind him along with Norris, and it's Verstappen who just really deep, and does he get enough? And he does. He gets enough of Max Verstappen and goes past Valtteri Bottas and moves on in this Grand Prix. So Bottas is climbing up the order, and look at that heavy braking there, under pressure there from Magnussen and Sergio Perez. But this is our race leader, Sebastian Vettel. Great start, it must be said, off the line, and already look how well that Ferrari is running and is eking out a bit of a lead over that Mercedes-Benz. Obviously we know the Mercedes-Benz livery is to change the British Grand Prix onwards, and first time we're seeing the cars come through the Wall of Champions today. There is Verstappen, he is in 5th. So after the first order, Sebastian Vettel leads, Lewis Hamilton is 2nd, Alex Albon is 3rd, Charles Leclerc is in 4th. This is the race leader, Sebastian Vettel. We're on board with it at the moment. Look at that, using all the curb possible, and such nerve you have to take the car right to the edge of the wall. Done a fantastic job thus far. You see Ricardo there. We are on board at the moment, and this is following Lando Norris, who's dropped a couple of places since his start. 9th place now, the McLaren. Much improved car, it must be said, in recent times, in the way it has been running. It has been affecting a lot of races, and we're seeing it follow the Haas. Tries to get back in. Remember, only the top 6 score points in this Grand Prix season. Already the top 4 have pulled in a gap. Verstappen is there. Bottas is at the moment really holding Perez up, so it's not going well. But this is Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, number 33. And, he's looking to catch as we give you a full rundown of the entire race order as things stands at the moment. Vettel, Hamilton, Albon, Leclerc. As we see, Norris was chasing Magnussen and Perez, who is right down the neck of Bottas as things stands at the moment. Some major movements in that as well. The Tiffy with an excellent movement to 15th. But this is the chasing man, Lewis Hamilton, winning the championships. Got a real race on out of the hands at the moment. Last few races been able to come away, but here though, the Ferrari is working so well, and it is really is great to see that the championship starting to get a little bit more competitive, do we say, at the moment. Well, there you go, braking again, from about 180 mile an hour down to about 70, and then all the way back up to about 180 to 84 mile an hour before they brake heavily, go around the casino hairpin, taking very cautiously. It hasn't rained, it has to be said, but it is cold. The track tyre is attack temperature is not as high as it could be, which means the tyres aren't as effective, which means you do have to be more careful. The car sometimes can spit at you and skid as well. Fastest past the track before they head into the wall. The champions cars will be just nudging 200 mile an hour DRS open. And DRS is activated, which means Hamilton, Albon, Leclerc and Verstappen can all benefit from this. Lewis Hamilton in particular, who is right down the gearbox at the moment of Sebastian Vettel. Here is Vettel. Short circuits, doing about 1 minute 15s, 1 minute 16s they'll be doing today. So we have a lot of laps as we're watching Bottas at the moment fighting off Perez. That racing point really is starting to look like a very quick car at the moment. Bottas is just able to can he hold it off now. Perez has made a move. They're side by side at the moment. Sergio Perez in the racing point. And Perez is passed. Excellent manoeuvre there by Sergio Perez. Passing through. Does he have the pace to hold him off? Into 6th. Bottas is out of the points. What a moment this would be for Racing Point. Magnussen is also in that battle. It really is hotting up, and even in that straight, Norris has passed Ocon, or even that will say otherwise. This is Bottas, and that's Magnussen and Lando Norris. So that's Haas and Mercedes, and there you see a little flap on the wing as the DRS is activated. It drops back down and it speeds up again. Now here is the top 5. They have pulled away, made themselves a gap here, so strategy may come into this. At the moment that Mercedes isn't quite able to catch up to Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari, so there'll be some frantic work being done in the pits, but at the moment the driver to watch today is Max Verstappen, who's absolutely flying. Look at this, he now stands right on the gearbox at the moment with Charles Leclerc. Can he find a moment to pass the Monegasque? Now here's Verstappen in 5th, just waiting, just trying to guide himself through. He did that really well, it must be said. Max Verstappen in this. Slight sort of spray up from the track, a little bit of moisture maybe, but he's got to be thinking about potentially trying to pass Charles Leclerc. Leclerc had eyes in the back of his head. This is what he'd see from the view from his gearbox. You can see that, particularly through that chicane, look how quickly at the moment able to gain away. So Verstappen able to brake very, very heavily, dive bombs late into the hairpin as they make their way back on towards the main straights. Now this is an opportunity to pass. He's got right behind him, good amount of speed. The DRS is open. DRS is open for both drivers, it has to be said. So is there some old-fashioned mechanical drag, or will he go late? He does go late. Brakes very heavily going through, just keeps it on the track. Excellent manoeuvre there by Max Verstappen, who gets himself into 4th place past Charles Leclerc. While that's going on, Alex Albon, his teammate, is really starting to put the pressure on Lewis Hamilton, who's not able to gain on Sebastian Vettel. Now you can see the battle. So Verstappen now has put himself right in the battle for the lead. This is turning into a fascinating race thus far. Alex Albon right behind Hamilton. Verstappen trying to catch his teammate. Christian Horner has said that he doesn't necessarily believe in team orders unless it's plainly obvious that one driver is going to do much better than the other. It seems to be that case at the moment. It seems every man for himself. Now, Alex Albon, when the next DRS zone opens up, we fancy a run at Lewis Hamilton, braking heavily again for the hairpin. Go down to about 70 miles an hour before speeding all the way back up. Where at the end of the game with the DRS open, they'll be just short 200 miles an hour. The entire time they're battling, that's pursuing Sebastian Vettel, who's trying to pull away and make himself a gap, which he has created thus far. Got to be thinking about the Ferrari here. What do? Pit early, try and sort of out pit and try to sort of build some clear track. You've got the advantage. You are leading the race, obviously. Indeed, you do control how it goes. Jules Villeneuve circuit has been in this typical format now since 2001, and this is Alex Albon right behind Hamilton. So Albon second in the championships, making a real go of this on Lewis, but Hamilton what will he be able to do? Because at the moment he can't catch Vettel. Those Red Bulls are still very quick, forcing the Mercedes at the moment. A lot of problems at the moment. So Hamilton is second, Albon is third, Verstappen is fourth, Charles Leclerc is fifth. Now we're back with Lando Norris, who's struggling here. He's been passed by Esteban Ocon. He's got Daniel Ricciardo sitting right behind him. Carlos Sainz is sitting behind them. So the McLaren's wonderful days starting to go a bit sour here. The team from Woking hoping to be able to continue on their great form. Of course, it will be Daniel Ricciardo in the team next year. So at the moment, Ricciardo is racing the team he'll be driving for next season. Desperately unlucky with 2 retirements thus far for engine failure in both races. He's very, very unlucky, but smoothly done. And here we go back with the leaders again. Now this is Sebastian Vettel. Still continue to build a gap on Lewis Hamilton. Yes, and we wonder here what can be done now. Will there be a pit? Yes, it is. So Sebastian Vettel is in the pits. So he's going to pit early. I can assume this is because he wants to get on the harder tyre and look to sort of build a lead. As a lot of the cars go past, this might be a good strategy if this Ferrari can hang on. Racing Point engineers getting ready, bringing Anne in the house. So with all that happen, Lewis Hamilton is now your leader of the Canadian Grand Prix. Moment for Lewis, pulling away. He's got Alex Albon and Max Verstappen, so there's 2 Red Bulls right behind him. The view from Verstappen, and he's wondering himself, is it possible to potentially catch Lewis Hamilton from this distance as well? It may even be potentially possible for him. As you can see, he's pulled away from Charles Leclerc, who was lapping about half a second or so, sort of slower than Verstappen. Will he have a move in his teammate? He will have a move in his teammate. Oh, so desperately close, the 2 of them there, just sort of combining. And Verstappen still has the chance now. Will he fancy a pass on Alex Albon on this main straight? The 2 drivers here are just going side by side, squeezing himself through. And into second place is Max Verstappen. Excellent driving, that is. And now they all come into the pit now. What's happened here? Verstappen has backed off, and oh, this is disastrous for Verstappen and Red Bull. Both have come into the pits at the same time. Charles Leclerc is being pitted. So is Alex Albon. Just gets ahead of the 2. And now Max Verstappen has to come in. Disastrous call. He got past his teammate and has made the call to come back in. Oh, it's disastrous. Disastrous. It's benefited one man, that calamity has. So, how long is this Mercedes going to be able to stay out for? Lewis Hamilton will want to be able to give himself just enough lead when he is leading, when he comes back in and out of the pits, and he has enough. But it's all around strategy now. So Mercedes are looking to go deep into this race. Well, with all that's taken place, Sebastian Vettel was down to 6th. He's got himself back into 2nd place. So Lewis will have to keep building a gap, but Hamilton has Vettel has fresh rubber, and that's going to count a lot as this race goes on. Here is Charles Leclerc. So he's done himself a bit of a favour, got himself into it as they both chase down Valtteri Bottas. And a bit Miss Alex Albon. Charles Leclerc really does have a fabulous talent. He's a really likeable young man. We're speaking to him yesterday in the paddock as well. Absolutely delightful to talk to. And, he is looking set to try to make more of an opportunity here in 4th. Trying to get himself going. Lovely wet through the chicane. Love how close these cars get to that section. Leclerc in the Ferrari, short of his seat, and oh no, there's smoke coming out the back of that Ferrari. Charles Leclerc's in serious trouble. It looks like his race is over. Oh, that's so sad for Charles Leclerc. Trying to nurse it round. It looks as if it is a big failure on the back of the car. And he is pulling off as he's passed by Perez. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Grand Prix and the weekend for Charles Leclerc, who retires, sadly. Now this is Bottas. There's Alex Albon right behind him. So, this is the interesting moment that we are waiting for. Is there a chance for Albon to get past Bottas? Bottas, it has to be said, hasn't been working the best. He got slightly breaking in there. Max Verstappen already after that calamitous pit stop in the last few laps has really been able to reel in. He's still 5th, it has to be said. Look at the full line-up of all the races that we have in. Now, an opportunity maybe for the champions to do them pass. And it is Albon from Bottas. He stands for the VR Senna. Sweeping right-hander, the slowest parts of the track before they pick up again and speed themselves up. This is wonderful. This is a lovely camera shot, and you'll see them go through the forest. There's always a problem sometimes in the Gilles Villeneuve circuit of wildlife. Can't get into the track, so there are actually rangers set up in and around the woodland area. They think the noise would be enough, but it doesn't quite work putting off some animals. To stop a disaster, there are rangers actually working alongside to make sure it doesn't happen. Lewis Hamilton, he's not a ranger, but at the moment he's driving like a Power Ranger. He's coming in to make hopefully a more phenomenal pit stop. So Mercedes have gone deep into the race. Hamilton has come in, he's making the pit. He's let those tyres go long and long. It's just a case of, does he come out ahead of Sebastian Vettel? I'm keeping my eye out now to see whether he passes. He doesn't. That's Sebastian Vettel. It hasn't worked for Mercedes, it hasn't worked for Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton now is in 2nd place. He's ahead of the battle which is taking place between Albon and Bottas. There may be an overtake taking place that we're going to miss, but our Canadian producer is staying with Lewis Hamilton, who is in 2nd place, and now with slightly fresh tyres, can he reel in Vettel? Sebastian Vettel have enough to hang on. The rest of this race is set up very nicely and tightly for a thrilling finish. We were on board with Lewis Hamilton, accelerating through the gears up to 181 mile an hour, braking heavy, turns in and right. The chicane is to be still turning in, and now heavy downforce available around the corners from these F1 cars. Lewis Hamilton is going to have to start setting some seriously quick laps to get back in with this race thus far. Here he goes. Lewis Hamilton starting to move just through. Now we find out what he is capable of doing, Hamilton. Well, this is Albon, and we saw there was both Verstappen and Albon have got past Bottas. We saw that potentially taking place during Lewis Hamilton's pit stop. And now this is Verstappen, who might think about a passing move, who does think about a passing move, and so close to his teammate Alex Albon, and Verstappen is past Max Verstappen. Brilliantly done. Valtteri Bottas dives into the pits, so that could be that for Bottas today. Let's watch this pit stop, but it's it's a new nose cone as well. Bottas has got damage. That's really going to hurt his Grand Prix, I think. Any chance of points might have gone. I'm watching it. Yeah, there goes Norris. There goes Magnussen past also. And there even goes Sebastian Ocon. Oh, Bottas is going to be a long way down the field as things stands. Indeed, the AlphaTauri also hasn't yet to pit, but it is fast. An 11th place Valtteri Bottas. A disastrous pit stop for he. Having to replace that nose cone. And he'll have to hope he can recover. Here's a man hoping to recover his career at the moment. Sebastian Vettel, no driver next season. Will he take a year out, or will that be it for him? We'll have to wait and see, but that's the lead over Hamilton. And Hamilton at the moment, I'm looking at the times, it's very much split between the two. So Lewis Hamilton may have to be hoping that these tyres will start to fall off Vettel. When that does, I think Lewis Hamilton may be in a position to start reeling in the Ferrari if possible. Great work, it has to be said, by Sebastian Vettel thus far around the corner, and the Ferrari has actually done very well this weekend. It's been in good nick, it's moved well, it's driven well, it's been a very good car to watch race at the moment. At the moment though, it has to be said, Mercedes has been the team to beat. Last couple of years, the argument could be made that potentially Ferrari had a quicker car, but it was poor decisions that made a difference to the championship. And Lewis Hamilton's second half of the season is always invincible, but so far in the beginning of this season, he has been absolutely undeniably brilliant. The man who is chasing down many records from Michael Schumacher, and indeed among those two pole positions and race wins, and to go level with championships, which are his goal. This afternoon he can become the outright winner of the Canadian Grand Prix. He has 7 wins at the moment, 3 for McLaren, 4 for Mercedes. Could make it a 5th as things stands. So Vettel leads Hamilton, leads Verstappen and Albon. Perez and Ocon into the points, so Renault are in with the points the first time. Sainz is 7. As things stands in this race. Lando Norris sadly back at 13th, to be following anyone. Good work by Raikkonen, was at 20th, he's now into 14th. Charles Leclerc, with that retirement, will put him last in the official classifications for this Grand Prix. So close again as they both all the curb available, coming out of the virage, and they're making their way towards Concord, which will be the corner after this one. Power on through to the section, 185 mile an hour. Max Verstappen following. Max Verstappen flying at the moment, really is putting in some very fast times at the moment. 1:15.2. He is really picking up pace, and Max Verstappen is on a real charge. That Red Bull, since the tyre change, really is putting in some speed. Lewis Hamilton is definitely getting the sense that the tyres are starting to fall off the car of Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton continuing to chase down the Ferrari driver. He's got the DRS to help him down his main straight. He has a look. Doesn't fancy it. Through the wall of the champions and away. Now, does Lewis Hamilton fancy here? Makes a little move over to the left. Tries to go around the outside. He'll have the right racing line breaking in. Does he have enough to hold it through? And in the end, Sebastian Vettel leads. And Lewis Hamilton comes across now. And he leads the Canadian Grand Prix again. Well, that's fantastic strategy, it has to be said, by the Mercedes pit crew. They kept Lewis Hamilton out, they kept him deep into the race. He's got fresher tyres, which therefore means he was able to hunt down Sebastian Vettel. Now, there's a case of now, can Sebastian Vettel potentially chase down Lewis Hamilton? He's got the DRS open at this point. Does Lewis have enough straight line speed without it? It always makes this race fascinating for that progress. We haven't heard it before. We were promising to go to France, but the COVID, we won't be. We shall be only having 10 races this season. So it'll be the shortest Formula 1 Grand Prix season many years, it must be said. But doesn't mean to say it won't be exciting. The win here for Lewis Hamilton really would make it exciting as we get towards the second half of the season, kicking off with the British Grand Prix. Always special to watch that unfold. A wonderful thing and a great sporting occasion. So Vettel at the moment, for whatever reason, possibly tyres, doesn't quite have it, even with DRS open, to catch Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton now just has got to stay comfortable within himself, and could be looking at an 8th Canadian Grand Prix victory, which would be a record to get him going. And so far by Hamilton, it's been an immaculate drive. He's been able to pass Vettel and getting towards the end of it. The worry here, though, for both these drivers is the pace at the moment on Max Verstappen. He's absolutely flying out there. And there's a chance if Verstappen can catch them, or we could have a very exciting conclusion to this Grand Prix. Here goes Vettel. Now, the hairpin, the casino hairpin. That's one of the biggest stands set up for this. Now, he'll have the DRS zone, which opens. You see the white line across the track. There it is. There it opens. So, he'll have 3 or 4 miles an hour potentially if his tyres will allow. He does allow. He has a little look, Sebastian Vettel. Lewis goes onto the inside of the fence. Stephen just holds on. That's so close. Great driving from Hamilton. Vettel made his move. Hamilton went on the defensive and was able to hold off Sebastian Vettel as we approach the final lap of this Grand Prix. Extraordinary at the moment. And look at the pace of Max Verstappen. He's turned this into a 3-way battle for the lead. At the moment, Lewis is hanging on, and now suddenly Vettel, from making his move and not pulling off Sebastian Caesar in his rear view mirror. A little bit of history repeating itself. It's the Red Bull. It's the team he's won with before versus the team he nearly won with this afternoon. And Max Verstappen's just thinking about it. Where will he make his move on Sebastian Vettel? Does he have enough speed to make his move on Sebastian Vettel? Well, that might be a warning from the stewards for cutting that corner. John Todd may want a word, but look at this, braking again. Again, the corner, that's it! He's done it! Sebastian Vettel is passed by Max Verstappen, who now, down his main straight, does he have enough to potentially catch Lewis Hamilton? It is flying at the moment, this Red Bull. Can Lewis Hamilton hang on? Does Sebastian Vettel have enough to come back and pass again? He doesn't. The two of them switch back, and with that, one of the closest finishes in Grand Prix history is taking place. Hamilton wins, just from Verstappen and from Vettel. Mere 10th of a second celebrating the drivers in the end. But Lewis Hamilton hangs on to win. In conclusion, one of the most exciting races we've seen. Toto Wolff absolutely delighted with himself and his driver. Winner again, Lewis Hamilton, but he was pushed all the way by Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel. It was great work by that pit crew, which enabled Lewis Hamilton to go and get his advantage, which he duly took. And then from there, Valtteri Bottas fought well to get back to 7th, but that damaged nose cone proved to be his Achilles heel. And Lewis Hamilton is a winner again at the Montreal Grand Prix. He's got everyone behind him. And the 3 drivers that we thought would be the fiercest rivals have duked out one of the fiercest battles of the Grand Prix season. But Hamilton takes it just from Verstappen, who snuck past Vettel with 2 corners to go. That, as a finish to a Grand Prix, was outstanding. Well, the full classification in the end, Charles Leclerc sadly did not finish, but everyone else did. 3/10 of a second was the difference between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, but it's led to more points for Verstappen in the championship. He moves into 2nd behind Lewis Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel stays 4th. Alex Albon, though, is tied with him, but head only in the win. Mercedes' lead is now 11 points in the Constructors' Championship from Red Bull. We've got 4 rounds. The British Grand Prix is next for us. But from all of us on Grand Prix, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.